Welcome everybody to another edition of Walking in Spirit and Truth. My name is John Craig, and broadcasting here from Amarillo, Texas. My wife and I pastor Life of Worship Ministries here in Amarillo, and we'd just like to give you a shout out. Anybody that would be coming through Amarillo, Texas, we would love to have you come join us during Shabbat. And we're currently meeting at the Stay Bridge Suites that's behind Mardell off of I-40 in Western in Amarillo, and we meet there at noon on Shabbat, and we have a couple hours for the Torah portion. We take an hour break, and then we have our encounter service that runs from about 3 p.m. and for a couple hours or so or less, and for a time of praise worship ministry, followed by a second part for the message. It's all at one. We just split it because of the just before the recording for our YouTube. But and if you can't make it, we would love for you to join us online at our Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel, and where you can watch even Walking in Spirit of Truth. And you can also go back and catch our archives, because we've been doing a lot of different shows here on the Book of Jubilees, and you can go and go check it out. Uh, check it out right now, and you can see and look and like, share, subscribe, touch that notification bell, so whenever we go live, you'll get a notification. And if you miss the live show, just join us in the archives, and pick it up afterwards at 1.5 or 2 times speed. I have a bug. It keeps. All right. So, nevertheless, we would love for you to be part of that. Also, for those of you that have enjoyed the programming, give us a thumbs up. Let us know and what you think. Get involved in the chat and let us know the comments. And then afterwards, after all the chat's been shut down and all that sort of stuff, go back into the video, and there's a comment line on YouTube that you can put your comments in of what you thought about the show. And we would love for you to put a comment there, because that's how people, when they're saying, well, what type of programming is this? And people go in, they say, well, what are people saying about it? Your comments make a difference for bringing in new people to watching the show. But you can also share. But some people just don't pick up everything, because we're inundated with all sorts of different things. You've chosen to join me, and I certainly appreciate that, because I know that a lot of people compete for our times during the course of the day. If you like this ministry and the things that are going on, and would like to be a financial supporter of it, you can go to our website at www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org, and there it is right there. And just go over there. There's a tab, and it's a donate tab, and you can go in there. If you've got a tithe, an offering, just a love gift, you can one-time gift, or if you want to just subscribe a gift, you can do that as well. We certainly appreciate that, because it's because of you that keeps us going and helps us pay our bills, and even helps us to, we put money right back into this ministry here at lamnetwork.tv, because it costs money to run this ministry, and for every one of our shows, it does cost. And so we contribute to make sure we're pulling our load at the Lamb Network. But that's pretty much it. So go to our website, www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org. If you use I don't use a debit card or a credit card or anything like that to donate online, you can get our physical address. It's there on our front page, down at the very bottom. Just scroll down to there, and you can send a check, money order, cash, whatever works for you, and send it to us. So that's it for now. We have been on an adventure, and this adventure has been quite tremendous, because it is the Book of Jubilees. We went through an entire adventure with the Book of Enoch, which was quite amazing. And we also went through the Book of Giants. That was pretty amazing journey. We've been through 4 Esdras. That was pretty cool. We have hit a lot of these apocryphal books. Why? Because embedded in those gives us what was part of the culture during what the Christians call the 400 silent years, because they weren't 400 silent years. Yahweh was still speaking. He was still talking to his people. And some people contribute some of these apocryphal books to have been written during those 400 years. Some of them contributed them to way before. Sometimes the parchments and the scrolls wouldn't have lasted. Like, for example, Enoch, we talked about the origins of Enoch, and if you take those origins of Enoch going all the way back, those parchments would not have lasted, over 1,000 years. They'd have to keep rewriting them and putting on new parchments. That's why the parchments they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Qumran caves and in other places, they would carbon date at a more recent date, but um, nevertheless, the writings, I think, in my opinion, and for good reason, and we talked about it back then, is because they trace all the way back to Enoch. That's the same way with, um, well, I'm just trying to think. Oh, well, Jubilees. Now, Jubilees, we can trace back to Moses because that's how this book begins. And the book of Jubilees is about a download that Moses got when he went up on the mountain for those 40 days, and then for another 40 days. And so a lot of these different things that we're reading in here are like the things that fill in the gaps from our regular scriptures and Torah. But but if you will agree with me on this, is that it doesn't detract from it. It just adds to it for greater in-depth understanding. And of course, Jubilees, when it's counting on a calendar system, it's in 50-year segments. That's why it's called Jubilees. It's like the Yovel year. So last week we left off in Jubilees chapter 22 when Abraham was giving a blessing. I had to stop in the middle of the blessing. So I know that you've been hanging on with your fingernails all week just to get back to the blessing to see what Abraham was giving his sons as this blessing, and in particular Yaakov. And will we find out? Did Esau get a blessing out of it? We're going to find out. We're going to find that out tonight. So a little bit of we left you on a cliffhanger, but we're going to go back at the beginning of this prayer of Abraham as he's gathered Yaakov, Ishmael, um, Isaac. Yeah, they're all there. They had a big meal. And then comes this blessing of Abraham. And so I think this is pretty cool and it's worthwhile to pay attention to. All right. So here we go. Well, so I'm going to skip all the part where they sit down with the meal and do this thank offering and all that good stuff. I'm going to start at the beginning of the blessing, and it's in verse 7 of chapter 22, and because it's a little bit of a review, but you might as well not just start in the middle of a blessing, right? So it is, now I give thanks unto you, my Elohim, because you have caused me to see this day. He's 175 years old. That is what we just learned. Well, and he's about ready to say it. He's 175 years old. That goes along with the Torah. That goes back to the book of Genesis, where when Abraham died, he was 175 years old. So the last words of anybody we should always take note of, because these are oftentimes the most important words that can sum up an entire person's life. And so it's critical what he's about to say. Because you've caused me to see this day. Behold, I am 115 years, 175, an old man and full of days. And all my days have been unto me peace. Well, I can't really say that all his days were peace, but see, when you're walking with Yahweh, even in the most disruptive, chaotic times, we can live in shalom. I think that's really important to point out. The sword of the adversary has not overcome me in all that you have given me and my children all the days of my life until this day. So it doesn't say he didn't have battles. He was never overcome. Which we talked about Shaul saying, you've been made more than conquerors through him who loved us. I mean, that's why we have Ephesians 6, that after we've done all, we put on the full armor, and we've done all to stand. So, verse 9, my Elohim, may your mercy and your peace be upon your servant, upon the seed of his sons, that they may be to you a chosen nation, and an inheritance from amongst all the nations of the earth from henceforth until all the days of the generations of the earth, until all the ages. And he called Yaakov, and he said, my son Yaakov, may the Elohim of all bless you and strengthen you to do righteousness and his will before you. And may he choose you and your seed, that you may become a people for his inheritance according to his will always. Did you ever think that in that Torah portion that he's 175 years old, what the blessing entailed that he gave to Isaac? I mean, we know that Isaac gave a blessing to Yaakov, to Jacob, but here, we're going into more depths and some details. But I think again, it's not taking away from the Torah; it is um, filling in the gaps, giving us some insight. And whether you say, well, it's not scripture, well, Jubilees is one of those writings that's referred to in the Brit Hadashah, right? All right, so we're going to continue. By the way, I want to give a shout out. I see you in there, Tammy. It's great to see you in the chat. And anybody else join us in the chat, just say hi. It would be great to see you. And it said, verse 11, and do you, my son Yaakov, draw near and kiss me? And he drew near and kissed him. And he said, blessed be my son Yaakov, and all the sons of El Elyon unto all the ages. Can you say that's me? I mean, that's us as well, because it says, and all the sons of El Elyon unto all the ages, may Elohim give unto you a seed of righteousness. Now that's a singular seed. Oh, hey, Terry. That's a singular seed. Okay, just like one. So I'm thinking whenever it's not your seeds, but a singular seed, then we have the messianic connection. Okay, even though there's more sons that are also born, but just pointing that out. And some of your sons may he sanctify, and some of your sons may he sanctify in the midst of the whole earth. Well, that means maybe some will not be, but I, it's like he's referring to the remnant, in my opinion, that understanding that seeds, the sons, the descendants, are going to go rogue, and yet there's a blessing that's still transferable. I like that. That's a lot. That's pretty cool. And all the nations bow themselves before your seed, singular. Be strong in the presence of men and exercise authority over all the seed of Sheth, or Set, Sheth, Sheth. I'm reading from the Sefer edition, the Et Sefer, and so they have the translations kind of. Sometimes the transliteration is a little bit different sometimes. Then your ways and the ways of your sons will be justified. But isn't it interesting? I mean, Seth, I mean, that goes, all the way back through to the lineage of Adam. But it's interesting, he didn't say like through the seed of Adam. Isn't that interesting? I think that's interesting. Why would he not say to Adam, but he would say through Seth? Huh. Just saying. Then your ways and the ways of your sons will be justified, so that they shall become a holy nation. You can say a holy nation, and a lot of times when we say a holy nation, we also think about a royal priesthood, because I think that's the Exodus chapter 19 connection about a royal priesthood and a holy nation. May El Elyon give you all the blessings wherewith he has blessed me, and wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam. All right, so wait a minute. Now it brings up Adam's name. So here we go. But I think it's also okay, because we left off this is the last verse we were at last week. And so let me reemphasize this. May El Elyon give you all the blessings wherewith he has blessed me, and wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam. May they rest on the sacred head of your seed from generation to generation forever. Okay, now your seed, again, it's singular. They're saying all of the blessings that were on Adam. So you think, well, Adam was kicked out of the garden. Yeah, but wasn't Yahweh's blessing upon him because Yahweh covered him? There was atonement for Adam. And even though he couldn't reside in the garden, there was still atonement for Adam. And Adam was still, you have to say it, the firstborn of all creation. Well, I mean, Yeshua is the firstborn of all creation because he was in the beginning. Okay, because I'm not trying to separate Yeshua out as somebody, as a man or a different person from the Most High. Because in even in Ephesians, where we were reading over at Life of Worship, and we're talking about the believer's authority, that it says in Ephesians, do I have to go there? Really, am I going to have to go there in Ephesians chapter 1? Because it says to Yeshua, our heavenly Father. I mean, or basically that. You can look it up. Just read the prayer that Shaul gives in Ephesians chapter 1. And so, and yet he was born. Well, I mean, how else can Yahweh redeem us unless he has to leave his heavenly abode and become a man? So, and how do you do that? You come and you're born. And so, in order to be born, you have to have the lineage to show that it hasn't been tainted by any type of artificial insemination, you might say, any influence of Hasatan. We don't want any fallen angel DNA in the Most High. And so here we have kind of like this connection of the pure lineage. It's like Noah was pure in his generations, or he was pure in his generations. And so therefore, because of that, um, we have a lineage, because he had no fallen angel DNA mixed in that lineage, and of course it went through Shem and on down to Abraham, and then through Abraham's seed, and it was not mixed. It was so may Elyon give you all the blessings wherewith he has blessed me, and wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam. Okay, now think about this. If we think about the blessing of Abraham and the wealth that he had, I mean, he had 300 bondservants. I mean, no, wait, no, I take that back. There were 300 fighting men with him. And then you say, and they had their wives and their children. What does that translate to? I mean, could it be 1,500 people, 2,000 people in Abraham's camp? He was a wealthy man because he would have had to take care of all of them. We're talking supplies and food and all of that. I mean, how would you like to be the quartermaster of that huge family gathering? I mean, what an empire. No wonder the Canaanites feared him. I mean, no one would want to mess with him. And and no wonder Abraham would kind of settle down in one place for a number of years. We talked about that in our prior discussions, that he settled down. He was there for several years because it would take a lot to pick up and move 1,500, 2,000 people, more or less. So, but the blessing in order to provide for all of them, and then that his that blessing of all of the herds and all the animals that he had, and an ability to purchase to purchase grains and other type of produce and stuff. It would just take a lot of money, and that's actually it would take a lot. So here we are. This is quite a blessing. Abraham never lacked in anything. He's not like sending people off because he didn't have enough, and he's going to give that entire wealth to Isaac. Okay, so go back to Noah. If he's got the same blessing like Noah has, Noah, Noah, considering that he arrived on the ark, or he survived the flood and he gets out and everything comes out, the multiplication factor of all of the clean animals that would have been part of his herds and would have been massive. And of course all the people groups that come out of Noah. And and then you say, wow, what a blessing. If we could just, I mean, the scriptures are silent about it, but if you're thinking the blessing that was wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam, then and you think about Abraham, then Noah would have been in our today's standards, among the wealthiest of all, and like a billionaire, so to speak. Adam would have been too, because Yahweh would have made sure that Adam was blessed above all the peoples of the earth. And it just says that by wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam, may they rest on the sacred head of your seed from generation to generations forever. And so when Yeshua the Messiah is born, a man, so here we have Yahweh come fully in the flesh, and all of that blessing resting upon him. Why? Because he left his kingly abode. This and all the majesty. He could have called down 10,000 angels to set him free so he would not have to endure the cross. But he chose not to. He, I mean, so here's Abraham, and he's got 300 fighting men and all their families, wives, children, and even the families who would have had their own livelihood, herds and stuff, that they would be taken care of. It would add up to be quite a bit. And here is Yeshua, the and he's getting like in a natural sense, even though he didn't display all of the herds and all of the wealth and stuff like Abraham did. It was all at his fingertips. He just didn't have to use it. But I'm going to tell you this: Yeshua was never in lack, never in need. Why would the wise men come and deliver like like all this gold and all of these precious um, um, the incense, the precious oils, and I mean very expensive things they delivered to him that he was had had a lifetime of wealth that would have taken care of him. Let alone we know that there were 8 women in particular that the Gospels talk about that were of means that were disciples along with the 12 disciples. They followed Yeshua. It just because there's 12 disciples doesn't diminish the fact that these women were not always in his presence as well and learning and not only just taking care of the needs, but supplying for the needs of the ministry. I mean, it's amazing how Yahweh brings people together for purposes, but it wasn't just because of the finances that they wanted to be there. But they're like, yeah, we want, there's something happening in this ministry and we want to be part of it and we want to contribute part of it. And in it is a blessing. So may Elohim give you all the blessings wherewith he has blessed me and wherewith he blessed Noah and Adam. And may they rest on the sacred head of your seed from generation to generation forever. Okay, so follow the lineage, the seed of Abraham, and then the seed of Isaac, which would go then to Jacob. And we know that Jacob was quite a wealthy person, right? Considering how much he gave Esau. And yeah, he did like when he settled down in Shechem. He wasn't like really wanting to pick up and move from there. I guess unless you overgraze the lands, you got to move on until those lands restore themselves. But nevertheless, we can see we have a visual when we read the Torah and we see these lives. Okay, this is where we left off, verse 14. And may he cleanse you from all unrighteousness and impurity, that you may be forgiven of all the transgressions which you have committed ignorantly, and may he strengthen you and bless you, and may you inherit the whole earth. See, there's no limitations. And you think, if you're a person from a nomadic type of person back in those days, and you have the opportunity to go wherever you wanted to go. When we read some of the stories about Noah, that they're not the biblical traditions, but they're the extra books, and we see that Noah traveled. He went down into Africa. There's before the continent split up. It talked about him going into these other parts, which would be connected of South America and North America and Europe and Asia and all of that. Noah is quite the discoverer. He would have been gone for years. If you think about it. And so when you think about all these, and he says, may he cleanse you from all unrighteousness and impurity, that you may be forgiven all the transgressions which you've committed ignorantly, and that he may strengthen you and bless you, and may you inherit the whole earth. It's just, it's kind of mind-boggling, especially in modern technology, and when you think of the sophistication of being able to fly over all of the land masses of the earth and see just the great expanse. I mean, just driving across the panhandle of Texas, I can't imagine walking it. And here I can travel, 120 miles, 140 miles in 2 hours. Yesterday, is about 350 miles round trip over to New Mexico and back. It was, it's quite the expanse. And like on that journey, there's nobody living out there in eastern New Mexico. I mean, it's just nothing out there. May you inherit the whole earth. And the other thing it says, and he talks about, may you be forgiven all the transgressions which you have committed ignorantly, and may he strengthen you and bless you. So it seems like there's also this expectation of living a Torah life, and where we might do stuff because we haven't worked through to learn, where what the transgression of the Torah is. I mean, we call that lawlessness. And the Christians have their own ideas of lawlessness, and you can pick certain things out of the New Testament. But we know what that is. Lawlessness is not following the instructions of Yahweh. Torah means instructions, not following the instructions of Yahweh, that which is written. And so, and I've been talking about this, how, I mean, it's really easy to come into the Hebraic roots, Messianic circles and communities, and kind of be able to say, okay, I've had this type of background, and many people come out of a Pentecostal, charismatic, faith type of background, and then um, having been part of congregations where the gifts, the manifestation of the Holy Spirit are evident, and have no idea what Torah is, and they get focused on Torah, and then it becomes very natural, making sure, did I do this right? Am I following this right? Am I doing this? And we all go there. We all walk through that. But really, when we have a culture that's just the way we live, and we raise our kids that way, then it's not about, did I do this right? Then it's about, um, as, when in the discovery of Torah, as we go to the synagogue, so to speak, every Shabbat, where Moses is read, where Moses is preached, the Torah is preached. That's an idiom for Torah. That we go, oh, is that what that is? And we like, oh, I didn't know that, and I've not been doing this. Well, I was ignorant of it. And here he is saying that, may you be forgiven all the transgressions which you've committed ignorantly. So there's really um, a blessing that's being passed down here. And may he strengthen you and bless you, and may you inherit the whole earth. I think that's tied in together. It's not by works that we're been saved, um, works of righteousness, but it is by following Torah is what's the lifestyle of righteousness. That's what it is. That's why we talk about walking in the spirit of truth, because we can have a revelation of Torah that is more than just the natural, and that is also the inspiration that we get from it. And then from that inspiration, it just brings us back full circle into this mighty, powerful, supernatural relationship of living a spirit-filled life with our Messiah. Okay, verse 15, and may he renew his covenant with you, that you may be to him a nation for his inheritance for all the ages, and that he may be to you and to your seed an Elohim in truth and righteousness throughout all the days of the earth. So, I mean, we talk about that because on the eighth great day, there's a new heaven and a new earth. And so we just like, I just got to get there. I got to get there. Are we almost done with the sixth millennium, and then we got 1,000 years with Yeshua, and then the eighth great day. And can I just make it? Can we just survive it? Can we just get through there? And he says, wait a minute, just chill. Because he says, may and that he may be to you and to your seed an Elohim in truth and righteousness throughout all the days of the earth. Because he's talking from experience that Elohim was just with him. And even in the Torah, it says that Abraham was a friend of Yahweh, and which gives us inspiration that to have that relationship and to have that quiet peace of that relationship allows us to say, I walk my days in the good days and the bad days. I still had this beautiful and wonderful relationship with the Most High. Verse 16, and do you, my son Yaakov, remember my words and observe the commandments of Abraham your father. Separate yourselves from the nations and eat not with them, and do not according to their works, and become not their associates or their associate, for their works are unclean, and all their ways are a pollution and an abomination and uncleanness. And okay, so we've shared this with our congregation. Maybe we've shared it online with you all as well. But there are lots of opportunities to do things the way the world does it. To just like, what does it matter anyway? Or I've got the blood of Yeshua, so I'm good. Or as some denominations and some preachers will teach how, we have grace, so just live your life, and because it's all under grace. No, we don't do it that way, because that's what he's talking about. He says, don't associate to their works and become not their associates, for their works are unclean, and all their ways are a pollution and abomination and uncleanness. That's why we're different. Okay, just saying. But he's also talking here. Well, let's go on. They offer their sacrifices to the dead. It just makes me think about tattoos. Tattoos originated with marking one's body for the dead. I mean, why is it that a lot of people that have tattoos have really grotesque tattoos? I mean, it emphasizes death, skulls and evil and wicked, and I've just seen you. I know you've seen them too, just like, and they're masterpieces, but they're marked on their body. It's a celebration of death. They offer their sacrifices to the dead, and they worship evil ruach cult. Yeah, they do worship evil spirits, and they eat over the graves, and all their works are vanity and nothingness. Makes me think of, who's that rabbi um, in Israel, where they go to the rabbi's grave every year, and they celebrate. Um, it's pretty Kabbalistic. Um, it's kind of, isn't it like Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras is like the Day of the Dead, the celebration of the Day of the Dead, the celebration of, the 40 days of Lent. We're going to get all of our sin out of us for 40 days, and then we'll go back the way we were. Or like Halloween, that's connected with the Day of the Dead. And why do that? He says they offer their sacrifices to the dead and they worship evil ruach cult. I mean, that's not just to say, that's related to the Catholic religions, but there's other kind of similar offshoots of that do it. But then there's also the the um what are those different um religions? I mean, they do the sacrifices, they do the chicken stuff, I mean, they do live animal sacrifices. They even do that, like in the cartels. Perhaps you've learned and studied the cartels. Not only are they just evil, and they murder people and they hang up their bodies, and to remind people don't cross the cartels, and but they do a lot of satanic rituals in order to be empowered and emboldened. Yeah, because it's all part of offering their sacrifices to the dead, and they're worshiping evil spirits. Tattoos, so what do you say? Change the electroresonance of the body as well. Yeah, isn't that? I think it's Rabbi Schneerson. It could be. Um, yeah, it could be. Because I forget. Forgive me. I know these, and so many different things. They just get lost in time. We have to go back and revisit that. And they eat over the graves, and all their works are vanity and nothingness. Some people, well, this is what's being revealed in the Epstein files. And I know we talked a little bit about this last week as well, but it's also worthwhile. The more and more discoveries that are being made. It wasn't just about um, rich men abusing children. It's about children that were being offered up as sacrifices and then partaking in the eating of their flesh. It's in the Epstein files. And it's grotesque, but unless we recognize the grotesqueness of it, we won't get upset enough to cause such a ruckus that something be done about it. I hate it that the fact that government administrations want to just go on and not recognize the sheer evil of it. And so it would still continue on in the background. No, it's got to be addressed. But this is what Abraham, he's familiar. Remember what he said when his own testimony about his life, him being raised up in the pagan temple of of his father under the rule and reign of Nimrod, and how he had to be hidden away because Nimrod was going to kill him, probably to make him a child sacrifice of all different things. And he grew up in the midst of this. He knows what he's talking about when he's talking about all these different issues. Think about Laban, Laban, and his idols that Rachel took and sat on a camel. I mean, what's that about? It's this type of thing because the evil royal court, they would do their various incantations in order to find out what the future would hold, to be empowered by these spirits, all sorts of different things. I mean, it's all evil. It's what it is. Um, yeah, several rabbis that are worshipped um, after their deaths. Where does that tradition come from? It's not Torah, and Abraham is actually saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." And that it makes no wonder Yeshua says, "Abraham's not your father, but Hasatan's your father." It's true because otherwise you would do the things that Abraham did. You would you would you would forsake all of these different Kabbalistic connections. You would forsake them because you would know that they're connected to evil, right? They have no heart to understand, and their eyes do not see what their works are, and how they err in saying, to a piece of wood, you're my Elohim, and to a stone, you're my Adonai, and you are my deliverer. Really? No, it's true. And why else do they why else do they thrive off of the blood of the innocent? Why why is it that they constantly want to go to war? Because they want to spill blood. If they can and okay, so when you think about it, let's put in this. I've talked out as an ad nauseum about the Ukraine war, and it doesn't matter what side you're looking at, but in particular, because it's well documented, and the Ukrainians are still doing this, sending their drone strikes and stuff. Not some goes to military targets, but a lot of times they're just running their drones into apartment buildings. There's no military asset in that apartment building. These are people. Why? Because they want to terrorize innocent lives. Now, it's well documented that the Russians aren't doing that. If there happens to be a civilian that's killed, it's um, it wasn't that they were intending to get them. It's just they are, what's the word? Um, I'm thinking about the word. They're just an unfortunate bystander. There's a word for that. Okay, just drawing a blank. You are not my Adonai. They say to a stone, "You're not my Adonai or my deliverer." So I'm saying what war is why do they go after the innocent people just because they belong to a nation? Why do they hit civilian targets just because they belong to a nation, as opposed to hit the military targets? Because isn't war between military targets? But no, no, when you think about, and you can okay, think about this in World War II. In World War II, why did they have to bomb Dresden? I know it was about sending a message saying stop the war, but on the other side of it, there's a lot of innocent people. They're just trying to live their lives and hopefully get to the other side of the war and continue living their lives. And you think about all the innocents. Is there not a frequency that empowers or charges the demonic, the rulers and the powers of this dark world? I believe there is. And when you read the Epstein files, you know why they're wanting to suck life out of the innocent. It's why the abortion industry wants to keep babies alive after they've been aborted, so they can properly use those bodies as part of their ritual sacrifices. Why do I know that? Because there's a satanic priest that was called in whenever there was an abortion so he could do their satanic rites on that baby. He said because it empowered them when that baby was delivered and killed. You can kill it in the womb, but even more so, kill it outside the womb. Just don't tell anybody about it because there's something that the demonic thrive upon. And his name is Ramirez. Last name is Ramirez, and and he talks about it in his testimony. It is evil. It's just plumb evil. And I think Avraham is saying, I'm giving you a warning because when you see it, you know those ancient ways of back in the early part of Abraham's life was going on in his present life as we're reading this blessing, as it is in our generation. It's just the truth. It just is. And as for you, my son Jacob, may El Elyon help you and the Elohim of heaven bless you and remove you from their uncleanness and from all their error. Because when we understand the ways of darkness, we understand how the enemy works and moves and empowers himself in the midst of all of this, then we can also know that there is a higher, uh, you talk about frequencies there in the chat, but the higher frequency, or shall we say, empowerment from the Most High, is when we can come out of that darkness and recognize, but we have a role. And I think this is where the body of Messiah really fails to understand their authority as a believer, that we, through the authority that Yahweh has put within us, operating as Yeshua Messiah on the earth to stop the plague of darkness. Sometimes I know when I hear these things and like, what are these people doing, this predator class? And how do we even stop it? Well, because we have the ability to. And it doesn't mean that we have to go track them down, hunt them down, have them arrested and executed or whatever. Um, and through the justice system, it's that when we pray, things change. And I think this is what it brings out, because if we understand who we really are, if put one can put 1,000 to flight and two can put 10,000 to flight, what would happen if the body of Messiah would come to maturity and come to their senses and escape the snare of Hasatan, who's held them captive to do his will? Then what mighty works we would do in terms of establishing the rule and reign of Yeshua the Messiah on the earth until he returns. Yeah, that was a sigh. Okay, be you aware, like be aware, be you aware, my son Yaakov, of taking a woman from any seed of the daughters of Canaan, from Canaan, for all his seed is to be rooted out of the earth. Why? There's a guy that's on YouTube right now, and he was talking about the sons of the Canaanite sons, and I haven't listened to that, but I saw the title. I did pick up a part of a message that he gave, and it was really interesting. I mean, take it for what it's worth, and it's one of those things I've kind of put on the shelf for now. But when you look at the name Rothschild, translated into Hebrew, it's translated as uh, Magen uh, Esau, shield of Esau. Rothschild talks about the red shield, the red shield, and so you got to take it. You're taking it from German and into English into then but back to Hebrew again, and red shield comes back to Esau, uh, um, because Esau was red and hairy, right? And Magen is shield, the shield of Esau, and then look at who the Rothschilds. They was under the Rothschilds that the current state of Israel was formed. So it takes us back to the Edomites. The Edomites are the descendants of Esau. Edom is translates back into the word Adam, which talks about red, as in um, like the color of blood. So he goes into all those details on it, but when you follow the etymology, is that right? The word study the of the language, then you go back and you say, man, this really is the synagogue of Satan, alive and well in the earth, where Esau is really trying to run things and take on the name of a particular tribe. It, he goes into a lot more details on it, but specifically how Herod was an Edomite. He was part Jewish and he was part Edomite, and those connections are very interesting because that's who Rome put in charge over the land at that point in time. And who's in charge now? Is there a connection? There could be, because of the connection to the Red Shield family. We can just leave it at that. I mean, it's just put it on the shelf, but think it through and do word study and just say, okay, are there connections? And is this what we're being warned about in the book of Revelation about the synagogue of Satan? It could be. For all his seed is to be rooted out of the earth. And so I'm interested in saying, well, how is he connecting the Canaan? I mean, he's not a Hebrew roots kind of guy, but he is doing some word studies. So I was really impressed with that. And and but he's connecting the Canaanites that were in the land. And I don't know. I need more information. I need more information. So, but we know because uh, Ham's son Canaan was cursed. And then we know what was going on in the land with the Canaanites. We know about all the the offering of their children to Molech and the same things that Ezekiel said was going on in the temple, that they had just adapted all of these pagan practices of the land. No wonder they were ejected. Okay. Verse 21, for owing, so we're still in the blessing. He's like, he's a blessing of Abraham, and he's giving a warning to Yaakov, Jacob, who brings forth the 12 sons of Israel. So now, because we're talking about this is where this nation needs to be aware of, and yet some of them will be saved as a remnant, and some of them will not. Some of them are just going to go the way of Canaan, or you can say the way of Cain, but because the evil. For owing to the transgressions of Ham, Canaan erred, and all his seed shall be destroyed from off the earth, and all the remnant thereof. And none springing from him shall be saved on the day of judgment. Well, it was also the Canaanites that were breeding with the angels. It was out of the Canaanites that we see giants, right? And as for all the worshippers of the idols and the profane, there shall be no hope for them in the land of the living, and there shall be no remembrance of them on the earth, for they shall descend into Sheol, and into the place of condemnation shall they go, as the children of Sodom, as the children of Sodom were taken away from the earth. so will all those who worship idols be taken away. And you think, well, if we don't have an effect in order to um, do something about the predator class, there is ultimately a just reward unless they repent, right? Because there's still a way, but they need to repent. There's still a way out while they're living. But some of them are just so deep into it, there there's literally no escape without a direct supernatural intervention from the Most High. So will all those who worship idols be taken away. Fear not. There you go. Fear not, my son Yaakov, and be not dismayed, O son of Abraham. May Elohim guard you from destruction and from all the paths of error. May he deliver you. Because doesn't it seem like we're talking about these things? And yes, this is our reality of this current day. Whether you're listening right now with me live, or if you're going to be picking this up on the archive, this is the reality of our day that we're living at. And he says, "Fear not and be not dismayed," because it's real. When we think about the evil that's been going on, it's being revealed. It's in all these documents. It's stuff that's being covered up, trying to be hidden, it's trying to be pushed out of the way, so nothing be done on it and gets buried and move on. Let's go on. That's past. Let's just move on down the road. No, these people are still exist. And then we think, well, they're not going to take care of the predator class. Who can handle it? I mean, who has the ability and authority to do so? Or those people that have the authority to do so, have they been paid off? Have they been getting incentive to just kind of bury it or just prolong it or delay it so that it's never really addressed? And then the next administration comes along and, they kick the can down the path and there is, or down the road, and there's no remedy for the innocents and the lives that have been destroyed by what they've done. And yet he says, fear not, one. So don't fear the predator class, and two, don't be dismayed because they still exist. Okay? He's just telling you, O son of Abraham, may El Elyon guard you from destruction and from all the paths of error. May he deliver you, because we certainly don't want to go down that path of just, of those. Isn't it easy to spiral down into the dark thoughts? And it just makes us depressed and resentful and unforgiving, and all. It's really easy to do that. That's why when Paul says, "When think about these things, whatsoever are good." Pastor Sandy talked about this last week in Philippians. Think about these things, whatsoever good and lovely and of good repute. Dwell on these things. Why? Because it's a higher frequency. Why is it that we are to be a people of love and we don't want to be pulled down into that spiral of hatred? Because we want to be elevated into the same place where Yahweh is, that says, in spite of that, I'm El Elyon. I've got it. I've got it under control. I want to deliver you from those paths of evil. I want you to live by the waters, by the living waters. I want you to be a tree that's planted by those living waters, that bears its fruit in its season, that whose leaves bring healing to the nations, who bears fruit every month. That's who he wants us to be. He wants us. That's what takes us. It's not that we're ignoring those other things, and it doesn't mean that we're silent in our prayer life. Uh, it means that we understand our positioning. Why is it that Paul talks about that that we are seated with Messiah in heavenly places? And where's Messiah? At the right hand of the Father. So we're placed in that position next to him who's in authority. So that authority is how we're connected so that we can rule and reign on this earth. And you say rule and reign. I'm not saying that we all become kings, but in essence, the enemy is no higher than the soles of our feet. So we understand where that role is and where that path is, and that position is. May El Elyon guard you from destruction. So we need him to cover us. We need him to be a hedge of protection around us. We need the blood of Messiah. And we need to make sure there's no chinks in our armor. And so that we don't, so that we're, we're protected, we're delivered from all the paths of error. This house have I built for myself, that I might put my name upon it in the earth. It is given to you and to your seed forever, and it will be a name, and it will be named the house of Abraham. Isn't it true? When you think about it, it's still true today. And anybody that wants to be part, even though there may not be a bloodline connection to Abraham, can come in as an adopted child. So all of the nations of the earth are connected to the family of Abraham if we choose and are grafted in. And so many from the house of Yaakov cut off, and yet can be grafted back in again. It's given to you and to your seed forever, for you will build my house and establish my name before Elohim forever. Your seed and your name will stand throughout all generations of the earth. Remember, he's talking to Yaakov about all this, to Jacob. And so what a blessing. Your seed and your name will stand throughout all generations of the earth. And he ceased commanding him and blessing him. And the two lay together in one bed, and Yaakov slept in the bosom of Abraham, his father's father, and kissed him 7 times. And his affection and his heart rejoiced over him. And he blessed him with all his heart. And he said, Eloyon, the Elohim of all, and creator of all, who brought me forth from Ur of the Kasdim, that he might give me this land to inherit forever, and that I might establish a holy and blessed seed, be Elyon forever. Well, that's it. That's it for tonight. We're out of time. We'll have to pick it up next time we gather. And so that's our cliffhanger. We're going to continue. And it's great to be with you and part of your Tuesday evening here to Walking in Spirit and Truth. I'm John Craig, and looking forward to see you on Shabbat at Life of Worship Ministries YouTube channel. Until then, shalom.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all the other live Lamb show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network. We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm Sandi Craig, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.